Hello guys, Dhananjay here and welcome back to a brand new video. It's 2020 and we are going to build a lot of PCs this year. So get subscribed and press the bell icon so that you will get notified next time I upload a new build. This build is going to cost rupees 50,000 only. If you are into gaming and you are into editing as well, then this will be one of the best PCs that your money can get. Not just that, but I also did 4K editing on this PC and I'll talk about my experience in later part of this video. Without wasting any time, let's get started. First of all, let me mention couple of rules. First one, we are only going to consider brand new parts and their current pricing. We are not going to talk about second hand parts in this video. Second point, we are going to consider pricing from Prime ABGB and mdcomputers.com, these websites only because it's easier for me to gather pricing from there. But if you go into offline stores and decide to buy these parts, then you may get those parts for 500 or 1000 rupees cheaper, or the overall cost, if it's online costing you about 50,000 rupees, you may get it for about 48 or 49,000 rupees in offline stores. And as all this is set, let's get started. First of all, let's talk about the first part, which is going to be Gigabyte's B40M DS3H motherboard. As the name suggests, this is a B450 series motherboard, meaning we are going to use an AMD series processor only. This motherboard will get the job done. All the things that you need are present in this motherboard, so do not worry about this. Not just that, if you decide to upgrade to let's say 3700X or 4700X in future, then this motherboard will be good enough for those processors as well. When it comes to processor, we are going to use AMD's Ryzen 5 3500. This is a third generation processor, 6 cores and 6 threads, costing you just about 10,500 rupees. That pricing is fantastic for a 6 core CPU. 3500 performs like a beast. There is no doubt that when it comes to editing, you need a very good processor, and Ryzen 5 3500 will provide you that. When it comes to graphics card, we are going to use the brand new GTX 1650 Super. Now there was a lot of disappointment with the regular GTX 1650 because everyone was expecting it to perform little bit better. I mean, at the price tag of 10 to 12,000 rupees or 13,000 rupees, it was supposed to perform like that, but it was performing more like 8 or 9,000 rupees graphics card. But that's not the case with 1650 Super. 1650 Super performs very good. We'll talk about the gaming benchmarks in later part of this video. Now talking about the power supply, we are going to use Corsair's VS450, which is a 450 watt power supply, and for this system which I'm building right now, it's more than enough. If you change any part, like let's assume instead of 1650 Super you end up getting 1660 Super, then even after that this 450 watt power supply will be more than enough for this build. In this build we are going to use 16 GB of RAM. And why 16 GB, you may ask? Because as I have mentioned in the title, we are going to talk about 4K editing, and when we talk about serious 4K editing, you need 16 GB of RAM. 8 GB of RAM is not going to cut it, and in 2020 I would highly recommend you to get 16 GB of RAM if your budget allows you to. If your budget doesn't allow that, then at least get 8 GB of RAM and then buy the same stick, like the same 8 GB stick again, and upgrade to 16 GB as soon as possible. Getting 3000 megahertz RAM is must in 2020. Talking about SSDs, we are going to use Gigabyte's 240 GB SSD, and SSD is must. Why not 128 GB? Then that's because I have used 128 GB SSDs in the past as my primary drive, and I was able to use those for as long as 1 year or 2 years. But every couple of weeks I had to delete or move my downloads to somewhere else, or I had to remove files from recycle bin every now and then, because 128 GB is very easy to fill in if you install a lot of applications in your PC. Not just that, 240 GB gives you enough space to install a small game in your SSD which you play a lot. Like if you play CSGO every single day, then you can install CSGO in 240 GB SSD and you should be good enough even after that. When it comes to backup or the secondary drive, we are going to use Western Digital's 1 TB internal hard drive. WD10 EZEX is the specific version that I'm going to mention because this hard disk comes with 7200 RPM, and because there is exact same variant of Western Digital Blue, I guess it's EZRX or something like that, and that will give you 5200 RPM only. Do not buy that, buy the 7200 RPM variant. Now talking about the case, in the past I have used cheap cases myself, like the Circle CC830. It's no, I won't say it's cheap, but cheap in price as such, and in just 6 to 8 months the parts started corroding. The USB ports were not functioning properly. The screws were corroding immediately. So that's why if you're building a PC worth 50,000 rupees, I would highly recommend you to invest at least 5 to 6,000 rupees in a case so that you will not face any issues in the future. In this particular build, we are going to use AC300W R2 case, which is little bit on the costlier side. It can go up to 8 to 9,000 rupees, but I would recommend you the Gigabyte's AC300W. This is a different case than we are using in this build, but it's a very similar case with very few differences here and there, and this case will cost you about 6,000 rupees, and that's it. This is the entire PC worth rupees 50,000 rupees. Now talking about the benchmarks, let's look at the gaming benchmarks. CSGO is, I mean, obviously it's a no-brainer. 200 plus FPS easily possible with this processor and 1650 super graphics card. No issues over here. Far Cry 5 also with high settings did not give any issues. Average FPS of about 76. GTA 5 also had no issues. 60 FPS gaming is like very easy on this PC basically. I should have mentioned this, but GTA 5 will easily give you 100 and 110 plus FPS all the time. PUBG PC, and this is not the emulator version or the PUBG Lite version, will give you 85 to 90 FPS constantly. Once again, the experience was very good, even though I was not able to get a lot of kills in the match. That's because I'm noob in PUBG PC. But the performance was fantastic once again. Project Cars was able to shell out constant 80 plus or 85 plus FPS, no issues over there. Rise of the Tomb Raiders was also able to shell out almost 100 FPS, I mean average FPS of 98. Once again, this gaming performance is fantastic. Now this is the gaming performance I like to see in a 50,000 rupees PC build. It's fantastic. You can get constant 70, 80 plus FPS in majority of the games very easily with this particular PC build. Now let's talk about the 4K editing part of this video. 3500 is a very powerful CPU. As I mentioned earlier, I use 3700X as my primary PC to edit videos, and shifting to 3500 for one or two videos was not a huge difference in my opinion. The only issue that I noticed is that as the graphics card is not very powerful, the timeline performance was not that great. I had to move to 1/8 on the screen resolution in order to get a very good, I mean not a very good but a stable experience when it comes to timeline. And 4K editing is definitely possible. Not just possible, it's a good experience if you use 1/4 or 1/8 in Adobe Premiere Pro. It rendered this 6-minute 20-second clip in just 11 minutes with the Ryzen 3500 and GTX 1650 Super. With GTX 1660 Super, we were able to save about 30 seconds, but the price difference and the rendering difference is not that huge in my opinion. But when it comes to gaming, obviously 1660 Super has its advantages. I'm also going to do a video on 1650 Super against 1660 Super, so subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And overall 4K video editing experience with this particular build was 7.5 out of 10 in my opinion. Completely doable 4K video editing. 1080p is like piece of cake for this hardware, like obviously. And I guess that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed it, give this video a huge thumbs up, show some support, and let me know your budget that you are interested in for the next PC build. Then I may consider that and build a new PC around that only. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because many more awesome videos like this are going to come real soon on the channel. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for watching.